Paul Pelosi's alleged attacker pleaded not guilty during his first court appearance on Tuesday. He is currently held without bail until his next hearing.
42-year-old David DePape, who allegedly assaulted Paul Pelosi with a hammer, pleaded not guilty on Tuesday to attempted murder and other charges during his first court appearance. Adam Lipson, the public defender representing DePape, entered the pleas.
I'm not going to add to all the speculation by talking about the facts of this case right now. What I will say is that there's also been a lot of speculation regarding Mr. DePape's vulnerability to misinformation, and that's certainly something that we're going to look into, that we're going to delve into as his defense team.
Lipson told reporters after the hearing that he has not had an opportunity to see the police reports and met with his client for the first time late Monday. Prosecutors motioned for no bail, and DePape will be held without bail until at least the next scheduled hearing on November 4th. San Francisco District Attorney Brooke Jenkins had said her office would petition for no bail, quote, based on the obvious and severe public safety risk that the defendant poses to San Francisco as well as the outer community. DePape has a number of state charges, including attempted murder, elder abuse, and assault with a deadly weapon. He was also charged by federal prosecutors with assault and attempted kidnapping.
The federal government has filed their own charges. They've placed a hold on Mr. DePape. If he's released from custody by San Francisco, he would be immediately taken into federal custody.
According to charging documents, DePape broke into the Pelosi residence in the early morning hours of October 28th. Paul Pelosi called the police. Officers on the scene witnessed DePape strike Paul Pelosi in the head with a hammer. Both DePape and Paul Pelosi were taken to Zuckerberg San Francisco General Hospital after the attack. Paul Pelosi later told investigators that he had never seen DePape, though he told a dispatcher that DePape was a friend, according to dispatch audio.
We're going to be doing a comprehensive investigation of what happened. We're going to be looking into Mr. DePape, his mental state, and I'm not going to talk any further of that until I have more information in order to speak accurately and correctly.
DePape faces up to 50 years in prison if convicted on the federal charges. He faces up to life in state prison if convicted on the state charges.
Leaked documents show that government organizations may have been working with social media to silence parts of the American public. NTD's Daniel Hall talked to one constitutional lawyer who says this is a clear violation of the First Amendment.
Years of leaked documents show the Department of Homeland Security may be working with tech platforms to allegedly police what it believes is disinformation. That's according to a recent report from The Intercept. The documents were obtained through leaks, public documents, and an ongoing lawsuit by Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmidt. The Intercept first reported the documents on Monday.
I'd say this is a clear violation of the First Amendment. The First Amendment, among other things, protects against companies being compelled to act in service of government agencies, which is exactly what's going on here with the Department of Homeland Security. Also, I mean, not even to mention the freedom of speech of people who are speaking on various online outlets.
Alexander Haberbush, a constitutional attorney, says the companies at the very least may be running afoul of state actor doctrine. That means they must respect things like the First Amendment. He added that the censorship is both frightening and unprecedented.
In preparation for this, I've tried to come up with any kind of close comparison that I can find in U.S. history. There is none. You have to look at the history of the Soviet Union or of Nazi Germany to see this kind of curtailment of free speech that's been contemplated in this action from the government.
Earlier this year, the DHS announced the Disinformation Governance Board. Haberbush cited other examples of government influence on social media, including the National Security Council.
In a 2021 statement excerpted from NSC on National Strategy for Countering Domestic Terrorism, they said that these efforts speak to a broader priority, quote, enhancing public faith in government. So they are saying explicitly the reason for these curtailments of free speech and to control information published on social media platforms is because they want to enhance public faith in government. That is very dangerous, because what that means is that pro-government speech is acceptable.
The document showed the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, which is part of the DHS, policed misinformation, disinformation, and something they call malinformation.
The way they define that is factual information shared typically out of context with harmful intent. That's factual information that they're suppressing. So the government wants not only to control the content of what is spoken, they want to make sure they're controlling all the connotations too. It's literally an effort to control competing narratives.
Despite disbanding the controversial Disinformation Governance Board, The Intercept reports that the DHS is still working to police the spread of information. The focus is allegedly on a range of topics including COVID-19, vaccines, racial issues, the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan, and Ukrainian aid. Emails between officials at the DHS, the Center of Internet Security, and Twitter described how content should be removed leading up to the 2020 election. Meeting notes read, social media companies will process reports and will provide timely responses to include the removal of reported misinformation from the platform where possible. A spokesperson for Twitter wrote in a statement to The Intercept, "We do not coordinate with other entities when making content moderation decisions, and we independently evaluate content in line with Twitter rules." In June, Twitter head of legal policy, trust, and safety Vijaya Gadi partnered in drafting a report to CISA. The report called on the agency to shape the, quote, information ecosystem. Gadi was terminated from Twitter last Thursday following Elon Musk's acquisition of the company.
What concerns me more is people who are using social media companies to express their own views and who may have those views censored or suppressed as a result of basically what the government is directing these companies to do. If that is indeed government direction, and these documents certainly make it look like it is, well, that's state actor. The companies are then acting as a state actor. They can't do that. They're subject to free speech protections.
Though at least one lawsuit is underway, Haberbusch said there would need to be legal precedent first for a class action lawsuit.
Currently, there is not a private right of action for the sort of discriminatory actions that are being contemplated here. However, if it does turn out that we get solid precedent down the road saying that social media companies are acting as state actors, there would absolutely be a private cause of action, because that'd be the same as the government trying to prohibit free speech.
Haberbusch added that Justice Clarence Thomas intimated about treating social media companies as common carriers, which would require those services to uphold free speech laws. Daniel Hall, NTD News, California.
California voters will decide this November whether to codify abortion and contraception into the state's constitution. This effort to expand abortion services comes after Roe v. Wade was overturned on June 24th.
Proposition 1, also known as the constitutional right to reproductive freedom, would explicitly add to California's constitution, quote, the fundamental right to choose to have an abortion and the fundamental right to choose or refuse contraceptives. Top Democrats in the state, like Governor Gavin Newsom and Senate President pro tempore Tony Atkins, led the effort to draft the ballot measure. It passed in the Senate in a 29-8 vote and in the Assembly in a 58-17 vote. In a statement, Newsom said, this measure will ensure that women in our state have an inviolable right to a safe and legal abortion that is protected in our Constitution. The move comes as dozens of states have begun restricting abortion access after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which gave the power back to states to decide whether they will permit abortion. Alexander Snyder, CEO of Life Legal Defense Foundation, told the Epoch Times that Proposition 1, paired with Assembly Bill 2223, will, quote, legalize infanticide under certain circumstances. AB 2223, which was signed into law this year, removes the requirement for a coroner to investigate the death of an unborn or newborn baby up to several days after birth.
It's Chrysanthemum season. One club in San Francisco Bay Area celebrated with the show. NTD's Eileen Eng hears how the plants and their blooms are cared for by their loving chrysanthemum moms and dads.
Colorful blooms brighten the room in Saratoga, California during an annual chrysanthemum show hosted by the Bay Area Chrysanthemum Society. They've had it going for 10 years. Club members get to showcase the result of their passion, patience, and care.
My father used to grow show chrysanthemums, but then, as I grew older, I was busy with life and, family and job and things. And then when I was close to retirement, happened to see the first show of this, which was in Santa Clara. And I was just like, this is my opportunity.
The goal of the club is to promote cultivation and preservation of chrysanthemums, or mums for short.
Not everybody likes the same flower. I mean, I might like these open center daisies. Somebody else might like the balls. This is called a cushion variety, and somebody might like that.
Mums come in many different shapes, colors, and sizes, but they are divided into 13 classifications. This year, a panel of 9 chrysanthemum judges determined the best flowers. The best of the best are displayed at the head table.
So one of the things they have to look for is the stem has to be straight. The flower has to be the size it should be. Because some of these may be all very good, but the size is small, then they won't like it. But the color may be faded, and it should be a fresh bloom. So that is one of the things that's really important for shows, is that that you have to have its peak. You have to time it so that the flower is at its peak.
To produce show-worthy flowers, growers need to grow a variety, have consistent watering, fertilize a lot, make sure it gets sunlight, and there are no bugs.
The biggest thing about show is that you have to do what's called disbudding. You have to remove, all of these have little buds coming out of there, and if you didn't remove them, they'll be in a big, bunch. And then, so if you remove those, then the center flower gets all the nutrition, and then it grows as big as it can.
Chester Unciano, co-chair of the Chrysanthemum Show, joined the club in 2018 and has been growing mums since.
This species here is a Houston species of a irregular incurving kind. So it's a class 1 variety. And it's Class A because it's a bigger variety.
The growing season starts from cutting in April until blooming in late summer or early winter, around October.
It's the discovery of new cultivars and how to get better from growing them. And just the diversity of the plants makes you keep going.
The process is very enjoyable and very fun, and I love to grow flower, and it's rewarding that I got first prize for this one.
Woolman bought the plant from a sample sale and had no idea it would grow to be a unique flower.
I did not know how it looks like until I saw it this week. It opens up this week, I just saw it. And I picked that because the name, nobody can spell the name, and then it's exotic. And also it's a Japanese imperial flower, the symbol.
Growers tend to grow more in hopes that at least one is presentable. Therefore, people can submit multiple entries.
I never knew that chrysanthemums could turn into a bonsai. So this is my first year trying chrysanthemum bonsai. So I entered 4 of them.
When you create something that's really good, it has its own satisfaction. So it's a journey, really, not just the last day.
Although winners only receive a ribbon, seeing people's smiles is their greatest reward.
There's this lady on a wheelchair yesterday. I think she was being wheeled in by her granddaughter, and she saw the blooms out there, and she was pointing the yellow bloom, I want to take a picture of this and this and this. So I was like, oh, that was cute.
The nonprofit is funded by their cutting sales in June. The club consists of about 100 members. Eileen Ang, NTD News, California.